Tonight on KGW News, a masked burglar on a crime spree.
It was like a nightmare coming true for us.
How police say a creepy guy with a crowbar made off with $30,000 worth from one home. Plus, a staggering shortage of public defenders bogging down our courts.
Well, I'd say it's come to a crescendo over the last 2 years.
How Washington County's now getting creative to try to close cases. Then, it's the dangerous and noisy nuisance with consequences that can be deadly.
These people are hurling 2,000-pound vehicles around at high rates of speed.
The extra punishment Oregon lawmakers hope to hand out to detour these drivers. But first, it's the most common method for abortion, and a judge has just banned it. The counter ruling tonight that could protect access in the Northwest. Good evening, and we begin with those two major rulings on the abortion pill known as mifepristone. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko. Now, first, a federal judge in Texas suspended the FDA's longtime approval of the pill. And then in Washington, another federal judge issued a separate ruling. It orders the FDA to make no changes when it comes to that drug's availability. Catherine Cook talked to legal experts in the Washington AG's office tonight about what this all might mean here. Catherine.
Well, David, for at least the next week, nothing changes. The Texas judge is giving the government a week to appeal the decision. Now, there are 17 states impacted by the Washington case, Oregon among them. That ruling appears to protect them from the Texas opinion, but legal experts believe it will ultimately be up to the Supreme Court to decide which ruling prevails.
We're relieved and happy that access to this medication will continue to be protected here.
The Washington AG's office staying optimistic Friday regarding access to abortion pill mifepristone. This as conflicting court cases in Washington and Texas stand poised to decide whether that pill stays legal. First, Texas. On Friday, U.S. Judge Matthew Kacsmaryk suspended the Food and Drug Administration's approval of the abortion pill nationwide. He delayed the ruling from taking effect for a week to give the Biden administration time to appeal. Also Friday, in Washington, U.S. District Court Judge Thomas Rice ruled the FDA should not lift approval of the abortion drug, which has been available for more than 20 years. But that ruling only affects 17 plaintiff states and Washington, D.C. Oregon is among those states.
Our order is the only one that's in place right now. The other order doesn't go into effect until at least 7 days from now, and we'll need to closely watch that case to see what the further developments are. But as we sit here tonight, we have a clear order that's in place from our court saying access is protected.
The Washington case, for the moment, is mostly about preserving the status quo.
David Schraub is an assistant professor at Lewis and Clark Law School and has been watching the cases unfold.
From the FDA's vantage points, they kind of are in a bit of a pickle that they can't really comply with both, which is a sort of situation where oftentimes then the U.S. Supreme Court kind of has to step in.
Schraub notes it may pose an interesting situation for the High Court, which holds a conservative supermajority. Remember last year's landmark case, Dobbs versus Jackson, when the court overruled Roe v. Wade, giving individual states the power to regulate abortion.
We'll see whether or not whether that was just lip service to kind of attempt to politically take the sting off of the Dobbs decision, or whether they view this as enforceable. Not just leave it to the states, but a nationwide comprehensive ban on all forms of abortion everywhere. That certainly is the tenor of the Texas decision.
Yeah, a lot to sort through. Catherine, reaction's been coming in from leaders all evening, including late tonight from the president. What did he say?
Yeah, David, in a series of tweets, President Biden said his administration will fight the Texas ruling. He cited the Attorney General, saying the DOJ will file an appeal and seek an immediate stay of the decision. Also worth noting, this week, Governor Inslee announced Washington is stockpiling the abortion drug and just bought a 3-year supply. David.
Thanks, Catherine. Developing tonight, a frightening story out of Northeast Hillsboro where the man in this video is suspected of breaking into multiple homes wearing an alien mask. And you can see it there, carrying a crowbar. The video was recorded by an apartment Ring doorbell camera at the Commons at Hawthorne Village. Sarah Alvarez tells us she and her family came home late Tuesday to find their windows open and $30,000 worth of camera equipment gone. Alvarez says police told her they believe the masked man is behind her break-in and at least a few others.
We just want it to end because it's not just the material possessions we lost, it's our sense of security. I haven't been able to sleep almost anything since Tuesday night.
I mean, with that video and mask and crowbar, who could? Hillsboro police declined to release additional details, citing an active investigation. Alvarez has now launched a GoFundMe to help replace some of what was stolen there. We've got more details for you at KGW.com. Let's get you caught up on tonight's other headlines now. We now know the names of the people who died in a shooting in the Woodlawn neighborhood. Police have identified them as 27-year-old Deja Willingham and 30-year-old Marcel Bryant. They were found shot to death along Northeast Lombard Wednesday night. Authorities have not made any arrests. Albany police are looking for help finding a missing 13-year-old Tristan Charles Wade was last seen on Wednesday leaving a friend's house, his mother said. He's believed to be with a woman in this photo, 24-year-old Alyssa Thomas. This photo of Thomas and the teen from social media. Police say they have reports of the pair in the Portland area, apparently trying to leave the state. Anyone with information is asked to call Albany police. And in Salem, a bill to strengthen protections for renters in publicly subsidized housing has now passed the House. House Bill 3042 requires at least 20 months advance warning to tenants before affordability restrictions expire. It also mandates that for subsidized housing, Oregon Housing and Community Services gets to review any rent increase of 5% or larger. The bill now heads to the Senate. Well, new at 11, a local program is fighting a backlog of criminal cases. Justice has been moving slow in a lot of spots because of a chronic lack of public defenders across the state. So now a streamlined effort in Washington County got through 100 of those delayed cases over about 6 weeks. Alma McCarty talked to the DA this afternoon. Alma, how'd they do it?
Well, David, the public defender crisis, as you know, is nothing new, but DA Kevin Barton tells me over the past couple of years, at least in Washington County, it's gotten worse. This program, modeled after a couple to address pandemic-related backlogs, helped many finally get their day in court.
If you've been accused of a crime, you have the right to an attorney. It's a fundamental part of the judicial system in our country.
If we don't, as a system, have the ability to ensure that people accused of crimes have attorneys, then that case can't progress forward.
Washington County District Attorney Kevin Barton explains this creates a backlog, further straining an already strained system. According to state data, there are nearly 150 defendants in Washington County without court-appointed counsel.
It's incredibly frustrating because, there's only so much the district attorney can do, and the levers I can pull and the buttons I can push are really focused on charging someone with a crime or not charging, making a plea offer or not making an offer, going to trial or not going to trial. In terms of getting a lawyer for the person who's accused of a crime, that's not something the DA has any control over. But if that person doesn't have a lawyer, we can't even get to step one.
To address the public defender crisis in the county, his office teamed up with defense attorneys and the county circuit court. Together, they launched a program to tackle the backlog using lots of resources in a short time span.
Essentially, it's a specialized docket.
Over the course of 6 weeks in February and March, those previously unrepresented for lower-level felonies and misdemeanors got a defense lawyer, went over their cases, and had the opportunity to resolve them. For example, by taking a plea deal. Barton says about 70% of defendants who appeared in court as part of the program had their cases resolved.
We basically accelerated what was very likely to happen in many of these cases. And by doing that, we're reducing the number of defendants who are without a lawyer, and we're freeing up resources so that people who are sitting in jail who don't have lawyers or other defendants who don't have lawyers can get their cases dealt with.
Despite the success, the DA says he doesn't plan to continue the same program since it addresses only a small part of a larger problem.
While we did reduce the number of unrepresented defendants, what we noticed is it started to creep back up again. And what we're realizing is we can't keep doing this. That we need to treat the disease, not the symptoms.
Oregon lawmakers are also working on a bill to address the public defender shortage and change the way the state hires attorneys. But that solution would take years to implement.
Years,
David?
as we have seen, while that backlog just continues to build. Thank you, Alma. By the way, our investigative team did a deep dive series into the public defender shortage. It is called Injustice. You can watch the 3-parter right now streaming on our free Roku and Fire TV app. That is KGW+. Well, this evening we are hearing more from TriMet after learning about a weeks-long disruption to a significant chunk of the system. Last night at 11, we told you how starting a week from Sunday, all trains between the Northeast 7th MAX station and Gateway Transit Center, all of them, will be replaced by shuttle buses. Now that's the dotted line in the middle of the map there. It impacts blue, green, and red lines. And here's exactly how much extra time TriMet says you'll need to leave.
On either the blue, green, or red from Northeast 7th Avenue or from the Gateway Transit Center to Northeast 7th Avenue, it takes about 13 minutes. Using a shuttle bus, it's about 30 minutes. And we want to make sure that people make their connections as well. So planning an extra 30 minutes will help them do that.
Yeah, an extra 30 minutes per trip. That's not for a day or even a week, but 3 weeks, again, from April 16th until May 6th, including May 6th. MAX orange and yellow lines will not be affected.